Hello and welcome to the Unhinged History Podcast, the podcast where two ADHDers and possibly more comorbidities are going to study history like it's the only thing we want to do on this earth, and then join forces and once a week tell each other the stories we've only recently learned. I'm host one, I'm Theresa, and that is host two.
I'm Angie. Hi.
Yeah, long radio silence.
Sorry, he's doing the thing where I think you can hear him.
I can't.
Okay,
But now I have something to edit out.
there you go. We're starting off strong. Who goes first this week?
That is you. You get to go first
Hot
this week.
dog. All right, well, I don't think I was prepared to go first this week, but let's go.
I mean, if you want, I can
Um,
go first. I'm open to breaking tradition.
I'm fine either way. I'm just mentally not prepared for my day.
Okay, then I'm going to go first just so you
Okay.
can start to steel yourself to the sticking place.
Oh, hey, thanks. All right.
Yeah. And that was a bastardization of Shakespeare. It's supposed to be screw yourself to the sticking place. Now,
Oh,
anyhow,
it works.
my story was recommended from a listener who commented on Instagram. Their name is Joss Hair Artist. They are somebody who does hair, a
Shocked.
hairstylist. Now,
I
they
believe the term is artist. They are a hair artist.
they are a hair artist, which is very different than a sandwich artist. Um, no
Facts.
shade to Subway. Now, they recommended that I do Mary Ellen Pleasant.
Okay. I can't say off the top of my head that's a familiar name.
Fantastic. My sources, National Park Service,
Oh, I'm shocked.
Mary Ellen Pleasant, the Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History, Mary Ellen Pleasant, Freedom Fighting Entrepreneur by Lynn M. Hudson, and Women in the American Story, Mary Ellen Pleasant. So if I hadn't said it before, we're covering Mary Ellen Pleasant.
I didn't think I got that the first
Yeah,
time.
I'm here to really break it down to the common denominator. Now, from what we know, Mary Ellen Pleasant tells people in interviews that she's born to free parents August 19th, 1814. One source says 1819. There's going to be some fun stuff because this was, yeah, in the early 1800s.
Right,
Um,
right, right, right.
so while she claims to be born to free parents, there's others, including an author of a semi-fictionalized Mammy Pleasant named Helen Holdridge. She claims that Pleasant's born to slaves in Georgia. But Mary Ellen says, nope, nope, one free black mother and one native Hawaiian father. So whether she's slave or
Okay,
free, Pleasant tells everyone that her childhood is one spent in freedom.
okay.
Now, we kick off in Nantucket, Massachusetts. And in her autobiography, she explained that when she was about 6 years of age, she's sent to Nantucket to live with a Quaker woman named Mary Hussey. This is an older white woman who ran a dry goods store there.
Is this is um oh my God. This
No,
isn't Aunt
Teresa.
Jemima, is it?
No, this isn't Aunt Jemima.
Okay. Okay. Carry on. Sorry. My brain just was like, "Oh, maybe I do know this name."
Wouldn't that be cool? No. But anyhow, so this woman, Mary Hussey, has her helper in her busy shop, that dry goods shop. And apparently, it's common for Black children to be raised by adults other than their parents at this time. Many Black Americans tend to move frequently because of jobs and safety, and they don't want to bring their children with them in this instability. So they tend to make a painful decision to have their children live with other people to give more educational opportunities as well as that stability that their lifestyle lacks.
I'm assuming you're referring to like free Black Americans in the North.
I'm just going to say yes because,
Okay.
different
Because this is
reasons.
1814, so I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
I don't, okay, got it.
Yeah. So she is in a free state.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Well, in Massachusetts, she's in a free state. Let me back up
Right.
there. But being born in Georgia, um,
Could be sus.
yeah, could be sus. Now, Nantucket is one of the largest free Black communities in the state of Massachusetts, but there's a ton of segregation that's still endemic. Now, even though we see that slavery was abolished in this state, Americans are still expected to live apart from the white residents. They have separate churches, schools, neighborhoods, you name it.
Right.
But Pleasant would go along and brag about her ability when she's working in that dry goods shop to bring in customers and get them to buy things of me, she said.
Good for her.
So she works it even as a little one. Remember, this is like 6 years old when she starts this. And on this small island, she meets and mingles with sailors, hucksters, and conductors of the Underground Railroad.
Okay.
Now, apparently, Nantucket was one of the busiest ports in North America, and this is a result of the booming whale trade that's going on.
Booming.
Booming. And here's the crazy thing, because this is the busiest port and it's a whaling town, men of the area are out to sea, and it's the women who are running the businesses.
Okay, this checks.
It's like it makes sense, but I just had a hard time wrapping my brain around early 1800s women running things.
Yeah.
So she grows up in this area and then moves to Boston. We don't know a ton about her life in Boston, but it seems likely that she works in a tailor shop where she meets her first husband, James Smith. Smith is wealthy. He's also an abolitionist.
Okay, get
Now,
it.
as with Mary Ellen, racial background is unclear. Some claim he's Cuban, others believe him to be a Black American.
Okay.
So there's just going to be a lot of this ambiguity throughout this entire thing. Now, ambiguity inside, he ends up dying and he leaves Pleasant a large inheritance. So Smith died in the 1940s, and according to W.E.B. Du Bois,
1840s.
1840s, thank you for translating.
I was like, hold on, we have jumped time. What is going on?
Oh, there's a lot going on. No, but okay, so according to E.B. Du Bois,
So
he
time
alleged,
travel's real this whole
dude,
time.
I wish. So there's things that Pleasant inherited as much as $50,000 in 1840.
Okay, that's a chunk of change.
It is a chunk of change. Now, inflation calculators, they only go back to 1919. According to 1919, that's 1.7 million.
Right.
But
Okay.
then just trying to do some back of the napkin math, it's claiming that that would be only 1.9 million, which doesn't
Hmm.
make sense. That you see what I mean? Like that is a huge jump. That is
Yeah.
70 something years and you're telling me that that's only zero point 0.2 million? I call bupkis. But anyhow, huge chunk of change.
Right.
Now, again, W.E.B. Du Bois, he says 50,000. There's some sources that say as low as 15.
I mean, either way, it's a chunk of change.
She's got some money. Now, by this point, she's married a new man named John James Pleasant. They have one daughter together named Lizzie, and the three of them moved to San Francisco. This is at the
Okay.
height of the gold rush in 1849.
Okay.
John worked as a ship cook at sea, and there's speculation that Mary might have left the East Coast to escape reprisal for her abolition work.
Ooh, okay.
So
You
I'm
know,
I'm loving the mystery. Now, for those of us playing at home, it's important for us to remember that the United States did not look like the United States the entire time that the United States was a thing. California is part of Mexico until 1848, and then it becomes a free state in 1850.
right.
So the racial diversity of this state is wild because we have many indigenous and Mexican people who made it more welcoming to Black people than other places in the US.
This makes sense.
In hindsight, it all makes sense, right? Now, Black people are still facing a grip of racism in California. For instance, in 1852, the state passes its own Fugitive Slave Act.
I did not know that.
That was one of those key things that I learned. I was like, I'm dropping this note in here because that feels very important.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's in San Francisco. This is peak gold fever going on. And she did some incredible investing to that nest egg that she got because she's using it to open laundries and boarding houses that she's staffing with mostly Black individuals.
Good for her.
Now, she's owning properties in San Francisco, Oakland, and eventually she's going to buy property in Canada as well.
She is on the move.
She is. And she describes this is, I've got a quote, I can't quite break down what it fully means, but this is what she says about her investment strategy. I divided this money among Fred Langford and William West of West and Harper. They put my money at 10% interest, and I did an exchange business, sending down gold and having it exchanged into silver. So either way,
Okay.
girl is lending her money with 10% interest and then making sure that she's getting that gold and silver money.
Good for her.
Now, here's a part that threw me. Despite this woman having considerable wealth and actively working to increase said wealth, she takes up work as a housekeeper in some of San Francisco's most prominent merchants.
Why?
Okay, now here's the crazy thing, because that was my
Because
first
she
thought
wants
too.
to?
No, because this woman, I think she can't sit still well. And I think
Okay.
also, like, she's able to parlay this into just brilliance. Because here's the thing 1850, 92% of California's residents are dudes.
Right. So she's
So
making more money.
all of the job opportunities that are open to women are extremely lucrative, okay? Because if she's doing domestic work like she did on the East Coast, this is now so much more higher paying on the West Coast where there's no ladies.
Yeah, okay. This makes
So
sense.
she's making bank as she's working as a renowned cook for the wealthiest residents of San Francisco.
Okay.
Now, taking this job as a cook allows her to obscure the extent of her wealth. She's able to hide it. I'm not so wealthy. Look at me. I have a job just like you. Now, the press, they kind of latch onto her. Again, one of few women, woman of color. They can tell she's
Doing the
got something
thing.
going on. So they start referring to her as Mammy Pleasant. And she disdains this term because Mammy is the stereotypical representation of a devoted black housekeeper. And it's got roots in slavery, right?
Right.
But by, kind of hatefully adopting this and kind of going with it, in using Mammy Pleasant, she's able to convince the white folk around her that she's non-threatening and likable.
Whatever works.
Now, here's the just creme de l'essence. You know what? Here's the best part.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
part I've been getting to. These jobs provided her with free investment advice because she's listening in to the conversations between the rich and powerful people.
Insider trading. I love it.
Yes. Yes. And so she's very secretive about all of her financial details, but she is continuing to invest in real estate. She's investing in mining stock, and these are the two biggest industries in San Francisco during this time.
Shocked.
Now, in the 1890 census, she lists her profession as capitalist.
I love that.
She knew who she was.
Get it, girlfriend. That is hilarious.
Now, this wealth that she's accumulating really enables her to give incredible amounts to her community. She contributes to, it's called the Athenaeum Building. And the Athenaeum Building, if you look it up right now, it's going to tell you that the Athenaeum Building is in Indiana. There was an Athenaeum Building in San Francisco, and this was a prominent institution in San Francisco's early Black community. It was founded in 1853. It's a two-story building, and the first floor operated as a saloon, and then the second floor is a library and educational institute. And
That's
it served
awesome.
as a place of civil rights planning.
Yes, that's
So
so cool.
she invested and she just helped create this whole hub, right? Now, she's also supporting the Black press and the American Methodist Episcopal Zion Church.
So she is even diversifying her
Philanthropic efforts.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, this woman is still an incredible abolitionist. And We have very few records that are a part of this life, but there are sources that suggest that in 1858, she shelters Archie Lee, who's an enslaved man on the run from his master who wanted to bring him back to Mississippi.
But he made it to California, right?
He made it to California, but California had its own Fugitive Slave Act.
Right. Okay. I'm just making sure, like, I'm placing her still in California.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now, as she's establishing this huge financial empire, she's also being that agent of the Underground Railroad, you know, ergo Archie Lee. Now, her abolitionist network that she established on the East Coast starts really serving her over on the West Coast as well. There are 20th century interviews with Black San Franciscans that revealed that she's in regular contact with the abolitionists in New England.
Okay.
At some point, this inspires her to move to to travel to Canada and meet with John Brown.
Your guy,
My
John
guy, John
Brown.
Brown. Now, before John Brown led his infamous raid at Harper's Ferry, which I ended up covered in episode 159 titled They Haven't Repoed the Couch Yet, which that title makes sense in context.
It's funny how 90% of the titles make sense in context, and the 10% that make sense in general are like, wait, what did we do there?
What yeah, what were we tired?
We okay?
Okay, so she meets John Brown in Canada. Now, this is kind of the crazy thing because we have most of the accounts of this raid. They mentioned that John Brown received a support from this committee known as the Secret Six. The Secret Six don't mention Mary Ellen Pleasant, who supported him.
Hmm.
So it's kind of
Okay.
like super secret there, right? Even beyond the super
Super secret
secret
boy
six.
band.
But this would place uh, Pleasant among the funders of the raid. And the raid itself. Okay, so when John Brown's raid at Harper's Ferry, for those of you who haven't listened to 159 yet, that is one of the inciting incidents for the Civil War. That there was a white abolitionist who was ready to go out in a blaze of glory to stop slavery and believed it was going to take a militant action like this. So, this funding of his efforts, this is part of her entrepreneurial legacy, which
Okay.
is mind blowing to me. Now, historians have suggested that she's helping multiple humans escape their enslaving captors as she's establishing the California Underground Railroad, which I didn't fully think existed until this.
That is a wild thought to think because I feel like California is so far removed from the rest of the American story at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have a report that towards the near the end of her life, she does an interview with a reporter where she comments that she helped fund John Brown's raid.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So our girl owns it, right? Now, she stands on business the entire time and does a ton, right? Because California, even though it's a free state, San Francisco is this segregated area. Now, she and a bunch of other Black activists are fighting for equal access to ballot boxes, education, and public transportation.
Yes. That is
It's
wild to think this is happening in the 1850s.
it's wild to think it's happening in California.
And well, yeah, like the place and the time are wild.
Yeah. So as she's doing all of this, right? There's these anti-Black laws and practices inside the state. Now, public transportation is going to be one of the first battlegrounds for this movement. She ends up being one of the first Black women to fight against the Jim Crow streetcars in 1866. And this is where she brings complaints against two streetcar companies, the Omnibus Railroad and the North Beach and Mission Railroad Company. In the first one, she files a suit against the Omnibus for putting her off the car, basically throwing her off. Now, there's newspaper coverage, and she ends up pulling back her complaint after the newspaper coverage because she had been, quote, informed by the agents of the companies that Negroes would hereby or hereafter be allowed to ride in the car. And she goes, good, that's what I wanted.
I withdraw my complaint. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
The second time, This is where a streetcar driver refuses to stop for her, even though there's room on the car. She already has her tickets. And since this is the case, she sues the streetcar company for denying services to Black citizens. This case goes all the way to the California Supreme Court, which declared segregation to be on streetcars to be unconstitutional.
There you go. Good job, California.
Now, even though she wins that, there was a case in the, or this, it does reverse a ruling that reverses $500 worth of damages that a lower court had awarded to her. So she loses $500 but gains rights for everybody else.
I think the $500 was worth it.
She can afford it.
Yeah, since she's not hurting it.
Yeah. One historian notes that it's her financial and political influences that led to the repeal of the law that banned Black testimony in California courts.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, mover and shaker in everything she does.
Good for her.
1869, she opens her first boarding house in the city, and this is an exclusive establishment that is frequented by the robber barons and railroad tycoons.
At a in a boarding house? That's
Well,
wild.
I think it's an
Okay.
upscale boarding house, right? Like this doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a flop house. This sounds like boutique hotel.
Yeah, that's what I'm okay, yeah. Can
But
you
despite,
imagine the
go
robber
ahead.
barons showing up at her house because she was once their cook and they're just like looking for that corned beef? Like,
They're like, "Hey, I need that mac and cheese recipe."
you know the one? Thank you.
Yeah, I went to my family's food thing and somebody put raisins in the potato salad and I just needed to tell you that I missed you.
Please.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah,
So even though she's got tons of influence, gobs of wealth, she is not immune from scandal.
of course not.
She would end up spending her final years just embroiled in controversy with her business partner, who's a wealthy Scotsman named Thomas Bell.
I did not have wealthy Scotsman on my bingo card for this story, but it checks.
Honestly, it's the Scots who are involved in everything. Now, in the 1970s, she moved her business and built a new mansion with her business partner named Thomas Bell. Now, Thomas Bell is the vice president of the Bank of California. And she's living there with him, his wife, who's named Theresa, and their children.
Okay.
And even though she's part owner of the property, she continues to hide her financial status from the public, and she portrays herself as the family's domestic servant.
That's wild.
Our girl likes to hide money.
Yeah, okay, hide money, but you don't have to play the servant. Like
I
that's wild to me.
it is wild to me, and I feel like this was just her part of her mask, right? She felt safer hiding. I feel safer hiding $20 bills in books, in coats, in purses,
Yeah, okay.
but I don't have her level of wealth. And so maybe I would obscure my wealth that much too. Now, by the 1880s, she's got this empire that is including boarding houses, homes in San Francisco and Oakland. She's got a ranch in Sonoma, and she's got a crap ton of investments in all of these resources around her.
That's crazy.
This makes her a huge target for detractors, creditors, and politicians.
Well, yeah, this
Yeah,
checks.
surprise, surprise. She's a woman. She's a woman of color. That would happen today, par for the course for the 1880s.
Yeah.
She is mentioned in multiple lawsuits by wealthy Californians. They're accusing her of fraud, theft, and even voodoo.
Okay. I'm so sorry, but that would do nothing but make me laugh. Yes, done it all. You're right.
I would just frame the voodoo lawsuits on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be yeah.
They would be
That's
right next to the
hilarious.
family portrait.
Yep.
Wedding photo, voodoo suit.
You know.
In 1883, she becomes involved in this really complicated situation. There's a young woman named Sarah Althea Hill Sharon. And Sarah claims that she secretly married this dude named William Sharon. He's a wealthy investor. And she sues for divorce and accused William of being unfaithful. And Mary Ellen serves as her prime witness and supported the validity of the marriage contract.
Okay.
Now, the truth is, apparently, Mary Ellen and Sarah secretly conspired to claim that Sarah and William were married, and they worked together to blackmail William, and they were almost successful.
Oh, okay.
So this is some hey girl. Um, Now, the first trial awarded Sarah with money, but the marriage contract was found invalid on appeal. And then during this whole thing, Mary Ellen's character is attacked during trial because, of course, it is. She's going to be demonized regardless of what she does, let alone in some kind of like scandalous dealings. During this trial, she's accused of being a quote, baby seller or an evil domestic worker,
Okay.
which I'm just like, next. Um, then there's also a racist stereotype that is quite the opposite of the mammy persona that she was accused of developing earlier in life. And her decision to testify really damages this mammy pleasant persona. And this kind of starts to really erode a lot of that any kind of public support that
Support.
she might have had. And we're talking like, according to sources, the beginning of the trial, Mary Ellen is more akin to Mammy Pleasant and is very trustworthy. By the end, it's just destroyed. Now, on top of this, there's even more shit that happens because it's 1892 when Thomas Bell dies in an accident at their mansion. And this causes his wife, Theresa, and Mary Ellen to fight over his inheritance in court for years because they both live in the house, they both partly own it. It just seems very tenuous.
So we didn't have a clear line of right. Okay.
Now, of course, the relationship between these two women sours.
Shocking.
Surprise, surprise. And newspapers continue to paint Mary Ellen as much more untrustworthy.
This checks.
I mean, like, you can see the downfall happening right now. She spends the last years of her life defending herself against creditors in court.
Hate that for her.
I do too. She's got a string of bad investments that further complicate her situation. And the fight with the Bell family significantly decreases her worth. She would
This
end up
checks.
passing away January 11th, 1904. So at one point in her life, she's a literal millionaire.
Right.
And by the end of her life, her inheritance is only worth $10,000, which is still tremendous amount of money for 1904 money.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Now this whole time she has had a daughter, right?
Yes.
Is the daughter in California?
Unclear. I didn't look that up.
I'd be curious to know who got the inheritance.
Probably daughter.
I would think.
Yeah. Now, here's kind of a crazy thing. So the San Francisco Examiner, when she died, left the following headline: Mammy Pleasant will work weird spells no more. Mysterious old Negro woman at 89 ends a life of schemes and varied fortune. Now,
Okay, you
here's,
know what? If that was me, I wouldn't be mad.
but like, so yes and no, right? Now, when Joss Hair Artist mentioned I should cover her, it said millionaire, San Francisco, ghost story twist. And so apparently she learned about Mary Ellen on a ghost tour.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming, as per usual, there is a shred of truth that was taken and fully elaborated on by a ton of tour guides who continued to gild the
Mm-hmm.
lily and gild the lily. And now we end up with her being this voodoo priestess that is doing all this black magic behind the scenes to run her schemes.
That also haunts this house in San Francisco.
Highly likely, right?
Okay.
Now, I will say Like, and just before anybody like fully jumps in and goes, no, 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 I've seen her ghost. Okay. See also Sarah Winchester in the Winchester Mystery House that I covered, where Sarah Winchester was not the crazy woman. The Mystery House is not that insane when you hear her background. Or see the episode on Aunt Julia Brown, Voodoo Queen, and how her story is grossly overrepresented because she was a black woman and they wanted
Mm-hmm.
to like they wanted to erode her literacy and own land owningness. Or Marie Laveau, Voodoo Queen,
Mm-hmm.
and how they wanted to make sure the blacks didn't get the vote. Or the Portland Shanghai tunnels, where they wanted to denigrate the Chinese, but spoiler alert, yeah, no.
These are things.
But I will say, at her request, at Mary Ellen Pleasant's request, I'm in on this note, her tombstone describes her as, quote, a friend of John Brown.
I love that. At least she got one thing she wanted out of it.
And I have pictures.
I wondered if there was going to be pictures. So she is sitting in a chair wearing exactly what you would think of the late 1800s. It's medium collared, like not super high, but not low either. Um, looks like a silk blouse with a wool skirt, maybe.
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
hair is very flat to her head, and she is thinking. She has some thoughts.
Well, that picture probably took 30 minutes to take, so
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yeah.
smile because your face is going to fall like flan in a cupboard.
Yeah. Okay, this one is definitely Civil War era. She's got the Civil War era hair. The what is that? A crinoline dress? The hoops.
I think so,
She.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Does she have a pocket watch on that chain on her belt?
I think so. And so there is a certain phrase for like the da da da, it's like starts with the CH, but it has like it's basically Victorian era like collection of things you can hang.
Chatelaines.
Yes, you can have like whatever, like scissors or thimble or pocket watch in this case.
Yeah, all the things and a little space for your money.
Yeah,
Little,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. I would have loved to have seen what color that dress was. This is
And
obviously it's like a sepia tone photo, so.
oh yeah. And I will say when you look up photos of her, there is going to be a photo of quote unquote her at a much younger age. It's not, it's misattributed to her. That photo apparently is of a young Hawaiian nobility, one
Oh,
of the Hawaiian
okay.
princesses around this time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But that is the story of Mary Ellen Pleasant. And I didn't even get into the ghost story because I refused to learn as soon as I realized all of the scandal that probably led up to it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I love that. I have a wildly different but equally awesome story for you. Have you ever heard the story of the ancient Celtic queen that gave the Romans a run for their money?
Boudica?
Hmm.
Yes.
I'm doing Boudica today.
Bring it.
Are you prepared? All right. My sources. There are two historic UK articles authored by Ben Jonson that feature either her or one of the battles that she was involved in. Um, a another another historic UK article from Terry Stewart, also about Boudica. The BBC has a really great site that is like archived. Um, so not you don't have to go on the Internet Wayback Machine, but it's still available on the BBC, but it's like not a front page anymore. And this gives a short summary for all of the native tribes of Britain. And I was like, that's actually super cool because it gives you the location in like a paragraph or two little blurb. Like I could have spent forever there. ThoughtCo.com has the Boudica biography. History.com, Who Was Boudica by Sarah Pruitt. English History Network, The Iceni Tribe. And believe it or not, The Medium had an article.
I
Boudica,
could see
Queen
that.
Mother Warrior Folk Hero. Yeah, I was like, okay, this works. And then Warfare History Network by Ludwig Heinrich Dijk. Britain Warrior Queen Boudica. So Boudica it is. So I was curious because we don't have like our information on her comes from Roman historians. And we only know of a handful of rulers before her. So I was kind of curious on like the background of her tribe and did my best to try to find some sort of information that kind of led us to the Romans. Um, but it's mostly archaeological. They didn't leave a written record. So, with that said, the Iceni were an Iron Age Brittonic tribe located in the area of East Anglia. So their territory encompassed the area of present-day Norfolk, parts of Suffolk, and even parts of Cambridgeshire. Now, it does seem fair to say they are boarding other tribes. Like they're surrounded by other tribes on at least three sides. And that seems strange to me to say that, but it also seems strange to not point out that there are, in fact, other people in Britain at the time. Like, I
Honestly,
was like,
that
wait a
makes
minute.
sense if you compare it to Native American humans.
That's exactly what my mind did. I was like, oh, well, no, that I guess because you have indigenous Americans that had multiple tribes living in similar areas. Why wouldn't other ancient societies work the same way? Like, okay, so their capital, I'm going to try to say this one time and one time only, was called Veneta Icenium, which is modern day Caister St. Edmund. I'm not so sure she spent a ton of time there, but maybe. But again, we don't have a written record to know these sort of things. They would have been considered an incredibly wealthy people with interests in both metalwork and horses. There have been some really informative archaeological digs around their territory that confirm their love of horses with related objects, as well as the fact that we know they minted their own silver coins and
Whoa.
some before the Romans. Crazy, right? Some of these coins feature imagery of horses, while other of these coins feature imagery of women and horses. So I'm like, okay, that's actually super cool. And they would continue to make their own coins even after the Romans arrived. They have no written language, so like I said, we don't have a ton of pre-Roman history other than these coins seem to imply that they have women of stature and were warriors as well, which checks. Alternatively, though, and I think this is really interesting, they do mark their coins with some type of initials of their rulers. Not really sure what that means as far as not having a written language, but they have some way of showing the name of their leadership. She was like, okay, that's interesting. Not sure how that works.
I
I'm not
mean,
the
I have a feeling it's
archaeologist.
just like you look at the native tribes, like prehistoric, that had pictographs and things like that.
Something like that, yeah. We also know that their territory produced some of the finest hoards of gold treasure found from the Iron Age. There have also been hoards located that feature these elaborately decorated bronze chariot fittings. The archaeologists suggest that this is a way for them to display their talent and their goods, and they loved doing it. So I'm like, okay, so this, in my mind, based on these finds, shows us a very wealthy, very stable people.
Yeah.
But then the Romans show up. So
Yeah. Here we go.
right,
There
okay.
goes the neighborhood.
So we know, like I mentioned before, there were at least four rulers of the Iceni before our point in the story. Um, and I'm just gonna say this: I am giving you the biggest oversimplification of her story humanly possible because if I didn't, we would be here for 6 episodes. There is so much. So we think a couple of sources suggest she may have been born around 30 CE, but nobody's definitive on that. So just around is what I'm saying. Um, we don't know anything of her parentage. We do know that she was likely from an elite family and would have been raised as a warrior like many of the other Celtic women over time, training in both technique as well as weapons. So that seems pretty consistent throughout. Unfortunately, we just know nothing of her childhood. Additionally, she would have seen the arrival of the Romans and how things were going for other tribes as well as her own as the Romans are like making their way. At the early stages of her life, it's not so much conquest as it is more exploratory on the part of the Romans. But
That's
they're
how it
there.
always starts. Do
Right.
you have things
Um,
we want to steal? You do? Prepare for
Fantastic.
invasion.
Pretty much. Side quest because I was curious. Rome first sent exploratory missions and small scale raids as early as 55 BC under Julius Caesar.
Good
And
grief.
I know, I was like, holy crap. I knew it was long because this has been an area of fascination for me, but I didn't realize it was that long. Um, by 43 CE, the Emperor Claudius has ordered four legions to conquer Britain. Now, at any given time, a single legion could be up to 12,000 people. That includes cavalry, auxiliary troops, and any other staff that's going to be traveling with them. And there are four of those. So that is potentially 48,000 individuals just
Chilling.
working their way through the countryside. Yeah. Now, so that was my side quest about the Roman legion because I was like, really, I wonder how many like a legion contains. But Boudica marries the king of the Iceni. And by 60 CE, just to jump forward real quick, they're going to have at least two daughters together. But rewind. Here's the thing about King Pasudicus. By 43, most of the tribes are forced to submit to this Roman rule, right? Because Claudius has sent these legions in. And it seems that Pasudicus has either bent the knee to Rome as an ally, like willingly, or was put on the Iceni throne because Rome sees him as a peacekeeper. It seems to me that he was already the leader and just was like, okay, it'd be better if we just worked with them as opposed to against them. Like, let's see how this benefits us, kind of thing. Either way, he is sitting the throne of the Iceni as a client king of Rome. To make a long story short here, Pasudicus works to keep his, like, everything he does is to keep his wife and daughters safe. Like, that's the long and short of it. He and Boudica put things in motion with intent to secure their daughter's rule and safety after they're gone. But the other thing that bears mentioning is that this relationship with Rome is unstable at best. It's not especially peaceful time, as you can imagine. And like for the full visual here, which maybe not necessary, but the Roman occupation sees an increase in settlements and military presence, as well as attempts to put the kibosh on any of the Celtic religious festivals.
Yeah,
So
I'm not surprised.
shocking, right? And you can also imagine their relationship is going to be very tenuous, despite Pasudicus's attempts to keep it peaceful for his daughters. Like it's not an easy peace. Well, in 47, excuse me, another thing I need to back up. Another thing that's also happening around the time is some huge financial economic changes. There's huge taxes being imposed on the peoples of Britain, as well as Rome granting money for projects that they will later turn around and call loans,
Oh, I love this.
right? So in 47, the Iceni are less than happy about this and they throw a revolt. This leads to Rome forcing them to disarm and leading to even more big feelings on the part of the Iceni because now we're unarmed and we are still be like the Romans are conscripting these tribal peoples into their armies and they don't want to serve them. Like you came here. Like what do you
Right.
think
You
you're
you
doing?
were a guest. This is my house.
Right. And so the surrounding tribes are not happy. Now, Pasudicus dies in 60 CE, and this is only the beginning of their problems because he's given his kingdom to his daughters. But because by their law, women can rule. So this isn't a problem for Pasudicus to be like, yeah, I have no male heirs, but I've got two daughters, so they'll just take over. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but Boudica is going to serve as their regent till they come of age. But this is a problem for Rome because Rome doesn't allow female rule. So, enter a new player. In his attempt to keep the peace, he makes Emperor Nero his heir as well,
Good. I'm so grateful we have a stable leader on the throne for this.
right? And his whole idea is that if I make Rome my co-heir, my daughters will have their region and Rome can do its thing, but my daughters should be able to reside in the peace that should come from this co-ruling. That's his thought process. We all know that's not how Rome works, but We know that now probably because of events like this, right? Um, Now Nero has been spending coin like crazy back home and he needs a way to refill the bank accounts. So, remember I said Rome's been granting tribes this money. Pseudocus dies and Rome comes to collect on those grants that they are now calling loans. The Medium article says, quote, Rome declared since their agreement for protection and funding had been with King Pseudocus, and since he had died without male heirs, everything belonged to them. You can imagine this does not sit well with Boudica,
No, no.
or really anybody for that matter. Now, the Roman governor of Britain, and I'm sure I'm going to mess up his name, but the Roman governor of Britain is a man called Suetonius Paulinus, and he decides that Pseudocus's land and property need to be sacked and plundered, and that is exactly what happens. Like, just take it all; it's ours. Just they don't. It's not theirs anymore. Boudica, for her part, already has big thoughts about these Romans, even being there, which is really obvious when you consider that her husband doesn't directly put her in the will, hoping that his daughters will be able to continue to broker peace and protection and money from Rome. Boudica not being named is huge because it implies she already had a problem and she was already outspoken about it.
Yeah.
And Pseudocus is like, "Hey, we have to play nice," but she's like, "No, we don't."
I'm Boudica in this
As wives are
equation.
wont to be,
Yeah.
right? Um, Playing nice is in fact not what happens. Spoiler alert. The Roman governor, not content with just ransacking the place and taking the lands, takes it further by having Boudica stripped, tied to a post, and publicly flogged while her daughters are raped. Other tribal leaders are treated similarly, and their families are then treated as slaves. This doesn't go over well. Shocker. Um, Here's the really interesting bit, though. As a client kingdom of Rome, she would likely have been considered a Roman citizen, and this treatment would have been unthinkable.
Right.
So, why they thought they could get away with this is wild to me, but here we are, I guess, Nero being the emperor and Britain being so far away from the seat of power. Like, what are you gonna do? Now, I love this. The Roman historian Cassius Dio describes Boudica saying, quote, In stature, she was very tall, in appearance most terrifying, in the glance of her eye most fierce, and her voice was harsh. A great mass of the tawniest hair fell to her hips. Around her neck was a large golden necklace. And I'm just like, do you have a crush on her?
A little bit, right?
Love this for you. The Roman historian Tacitus records Boudica's promise of vengeance, saying, quote, Nothing is safe from Roman pride and arrogance. They will deface the sacred and will deflower our virgins. Win the battle or perish. That's what I, a woman, will do.
Join or die, she basically
Pretty
said.
much. Boudica then plans to burn the Roman world to the ground. Like, full scorched earth. We don't need it anyway. You guys are going. And the surrounding tribes follow her because they've all been treated the same way and they think she's right. Not only have they, like as I mentioned, they've been heavily taxed, but the Rome has been conscripting their young men into the army and no one is happy with this Roman rule, so they want them out. And the rebellion forces first site that they choose to like march in on is incredibly like it was most definitely chose for a reason and it's symbolic. This city features a temple to Claudius, the emperor who decided Rome needed to be in Britain in the first place. And I'm just going to tell you, Camelotadunum is what it's spelled as. And I listened to 8 different versions of how to say it. And I'm just
I
like,
don't
could
even know
we?
how I would spell that. It just sounds like I would see it in
Camulodunum.
some grimoire.
Honestly, it's like, yeah, exactly. Now, not only is the Claudius Temple sits there, but the nearby lands had been taken from another of the tribes to support basically a retirement home for Roman veterans to live in peace. So they're like, okay, as
At the
Boudica and
outskirts of the
yeah,
empire.
exactly. So I guess if you don't want to go home, you can stay here and live
To be
a
fair,
nice,
it's
peaceful
a
life.
long walk.
It is a very long walk. So I kind of don't want to, I don't blame them for wanting to stay. Um, but here we are. Boudica and her army, as they are heading to this Roman city, they are picking up more and more fighters along the way, which I can imagine is what Aaron Burr was hoping to accomplish on his way down the Ohio River, but just missed the mark. Um, to say it's no longer just a small Iceni force, but rather a very combined British one, and they are pissed, is an understatement. Like, they are mad as hell, and they plan to relieve the planet of these colonizers. Like, they are done. And the area that they're marching to, this city that I am only going to pronounce in its Latin once, is the modern day Colchester. And according to some historians, the army may, by the time it arrived there, may have been as big as 100,000 strong.
Good night.
But just keep back there in your noodle that this is not a well-trained army.
Well, and they've
This
also
is
been disarmed.
right. So you're dealing with like farmers and pitchforks. You're not dealing with a legion that has been trained since birth to do this job. But they've got passion, they've got flair, and they've got pitchforks or whatever farm tools you have, right? Some historians say that it may not have been as big as 100,000, but it was definitely in the tens of thousands. Either way, it is a force to be reckoned with.
It's more
The
humans
city,
than you want, angry and marching at you.
yeah, and the city is totally unprepared for what they're about to endure. When the Roman veterans realize what's marching their way, they immediately send for help from Londinium, but it's already too late because like they're there. We can see you, you know? And there is no legion close enough, and Londinium's only able to send about 200 men. Spoiler, that is not enough.
Yeah, roll the dice.
That's what you get. It can't even be called a fight. Boudica and her army slaughter the lot of them. There is no one left standing. People tried to flee and are caught and brutalized. There are historians, according to Historic UK, that in this particular moment, if you were a woman and you had been murdered at the hand of Boudica's um, tribes, your breast would have been cut off and shoved down your throat.
Oh,
Damn. Yeah. Um, People were literally hacked to bits where they stood or mowed down while they ran. There was no chance of survival. They say that these lovely Roman grid streets literally ran with blood. Like that is not like an understatement. There was blood everywhere. And not even those that hid in the temple are spared because they are found and murdered. One source says they are trapped in the temple as it burns. No one is left alive. Like absolute full scale
carnage.
slaughter. Yeah. Um, and Boudica's army, they take no loot. They're just here to be like we are serious about ruining your day, and they burn the city to the ground. What is funny to point out is that if Roman leadership would have kept the fortifications maintained here, they would have at least been able to put up a fight. But they didn't think they were ever really going to be a problem, so they just kind of let the fortifications fall into disrepair. And so they were easily overruled, right? Like 10 minutes of thought could have kept this from being an absolute massacre.
To
Um,
be fair, their coffers were running low. They had parties to throw.
Honestly. And in a very oversimplified version of the next events, they take Londinium next, rinse repeat of the prior events. However, in this case, there's not many people left in Londinium, including leadership, either because they're out on campaign or a tactical withdrawal.
Yeah, I'd have
Like they are
skedaddled.
like, bye. What Warfare History Network says, quote, Boudica's horde poured into the defenseless city. Flames and destruction spread from the city center on Cornhill west to Luggate Hill. Tragically, the majority of Londinium's remaining citizens were the women and the old. The Britons slaughtered all. The most horrible tortures were inflicted upon the noble and distinguished women, according to Dio. If they were not killed outright, female captives were taken to sacred groves of Andrast and other deities, Boudica's like patron gods, right? And they're in what may have been very particularly brutal religious rites. or Roman exaggerations of events. You take your pick.
Little
Um,
column A, little column
l-
B.
yeah, their breasts would have been chopped off and sewn into their mouth.
Sewn in.
Yeah, the
Okay.
other
Well, I'm
victims
glad we're
were
taking time for arts and crafts.
honestly, you work on your needlework. Um, the victims were impaled by stakes lengthwise through the entire body, according to the Roman historians. Now, I do want to point out that this is Rome we are dealing with, and Rome has to have a proper villain if they're going to be overthrown. So,
Propaganda's key. Yeah.
propaganda is key, but either way, it's not gentle what's happening, however you look at it. They would do a little bit of sacking, a little bit of looting. There's other towns in between, but about this time is when the Roman governor decides to make his way to the Roman military zone and meet her in the open. He, Suetonius, assembles an army of 10,000 regulars and auxiliaries, and this bulk is made up of the 14th Legion. It's roughly CE 60, 61, and the most likely location for this battle where he is going to meet her is called Mancheater near Nuneaton. I'm not sure if I pronounced Mancheater right, but I know I pronounced Nuneaton right. Anyway, our girl looks up the hill to see her great enemy and how his men are positioned. And I just have this visual of because she is in her chariot with her daughters.
Yes.
And she makes this really impassioned speech, according to the historian Tacitus, saying, quote, "We British are used to women commanders in war. Though descended from mighty men, I am not fighting for kingdom and wealth, but for my lost freedom, for my bruised body, and my outraged daughters. The gods will give us the victory we deserve." The Roman legion dared to face us is annihilated. They will never face the din and roar of our thousands. You will win this battle or die. That is what I, a woman, plan to do. He goes on to say that upon hearing this, Suetonius says something to the effect of like, don't listen to them. It's just women. Throw your javelins. Like, Boudica roars and like all hell breaks loose and it quickly descends into utter chaos. And eventually the Britons, their fighting spirit just leaves them before they like actually try to flee. Like they are just so demoralized and they're blocked by their own families and caravans as they're trying to get out of this battlefield
Wow.
because of how the area is designed, right? Like their wagon train has become their fence.
So you
The
either
Romans
trample your family or just get
basically,
crushed.
yeah, the Romans slaughter everyone, including the animals.
The
In
Romans
this,
slaughter everyone.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because
I thought you misspoke.
no, the Romans see this chaos and they're like, oh, fantastic. Because here's the difference. You are dealing with a legion that has been trained, that is dedicated and disciplined versus farmers this might be the first battle they've ever seen and it's chaotic already.
Right.
So there's this morale that's just totally broken and the Romans are like, fantastic, we can work with that. Throw more javelins. They've got more firepower, they've got dedication, they've got the training, and sometimes that passionate heart just needs a little bit more, and in this case, that was one of those moments. By the end of her rampage of the towns, it's believed her people took out something like 70,000, which is insane.
Yeah.
Tacitus would later describe Boudica's defeat as a glorious victory comparable to bygone triumphs. Roman reports estimated that up to 80,000 Britons were killed. This number includes non-combatants as well as the fighters. He goes on to say that the Roman casualties were about 400 dead and just over 400 wounded. The next sentence makes me laugh so hard because the visual, I have such a crap sense of humor, but when the news of the battle outcome reaches the Second Legion Commander Postumus, he is absolutely overcome with shame for missing the battle and he just stabs himself to death. And I'm like, what?
A little
That is
emotional
wild.
intelligence. Yeah, he's got to learn some self-control.
My guy. Boudica escapes along with a good number of her people, but here's where things get a little murky. Tacitus wrote that she poisoned herself over defeat. Dio wrote that she grew ill and died. That seems unlikely, but perhaps she had sustained some sort of wound in the battle and it became infected, and then that's it. And knowing death is coming, she chooses suicide instead. Whatever the cause, her people mourn her greatly and they give her the most worthy burial. Her valiant efforts continue to inspire the tribes despite the casualties suffered. Many refuse to surrender. Despite all that, though, no other uprisings occur and things don't get better until a more lenient governor shows up. And that is the story of Boudica.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you seen her statue that sits
Maybe, but
on
just
the
you've got an
yeah,
image. Just share it. I
I
can tell
did.
already. Okay, it is a statue of a chariot. There are two horses
I'm
in
sorry.
front. They are rearing up. She has a spear in her left hand and her right hand is outstretched. Either way,
And
that is the image of a commander.
her daughters are in the chariot with her.
Oh, yeah, there
But you can
is.
only see one in this
Yeah,
picture. So that's the story of Boudica. And if you happen to be in London and want to see that statue, it is positioned on the north side of the western end of the Westminster Bridge.
that is fantastic.
And I think it's really funny that to me, I was laughing about this while writing my notes. I love Boudica. I love the story of Boudica. I've known it for a long time. But I think it's hilarious that Britain has this folk hero that is all about fighting the colonizer.
Yeah, that is a bit, hmm.
Like, huh, maybe, maybe just take a page from your own book. I just made me chuckle.
Yeah, maybe representation matters and we should really focus on certain stories more than others.
Mm, perhaps.
Well,
So,
if you
so
need to focus on certain stories more than others and you appreciate podcasts like this that really surface those to the forefront of your mind, rate, review, subscribe, and send this to somebody else who both appreciates the story of the person attacking the colonizer and probably also racially identifies alongside them.
wild, because
And on that
that's
note,
me.
goodbye.
Bye.